Welcome to the Mr. Bleh experience. We are going to be talking about today Mr. Quammen's grayling essay. Today I'm joined with Leo Tom Regal, Ashton Day, and Joshua Snatz. So this essay that Quammen wrote is about the Arctic grayling, an interesting little fish that deserves more respect. David Quammen is an accomplished writer and has 18 books under his belt, and he has written for many famous magazines such as National Geographic and Rolling Stone. While initially he wrote fiction, he now has started mostly doing nonfiction writing. Almost all of his writings contain themes of nature, science, American history, and conservation sentiments, such as his essay on the graylings.
And tell me, Big Tramp, what makes this such an interesting fish?
So this fish, the Arctic grayling, has a long dorsal fin, and it also has several purple dots along its body.
And why does Quammen think it deserves more respect?
Because this fish is so old, it's almost prehistoric because of the glaciers that brought it into the area.
Interesting.
All right, next, Leo's going to take it away with the fishing narrative that we see in Quammen's essay.
So Quammen went fishing in 1975 in Wisdom, Montana, where he caught 31 grayling in about 4 hours and had released all of them. Quammen notes that he had fished in 1975. There was a string of old cars that a rancher sunk in the river to hold his field, which he used as a landmark. Quammen talks about a study on a 2-mile stretch of the river which encompassed sunken cars and how the researcher found no grayling in about 2 years' time. Later, Quammen talks about his annual visits to the Big Hole with the Irishman. Quammen puts emphasis that they were just visiting and never there to stalk, confront, eat, or kill. He then compares this to how one visits with the grayling as they are caught without the purpose to eat or kill. This contributes to the meaning of the essay as a whole, and that the grayling deserves to live despite their lack of purpose. They deserve to live because they have been part of the planet for such a long time. When we visit them, we visit the past.
So Leo, tell me why these grayling are so easy to catch.
So they're pretty small, they don't put up much of a fight. Even though they're beautiful creatures, they really just don't have much of a purpose. They don't have a lot of thrill of the game, and they don't taste very good. They're kind of bony fish. But Quammen believes that we should still keep them and stop them from going extinct, simply because they've been here before us and they're here, which constitutes that they have the right to live.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next, Ashton is going to talk about the relation between Bentham's writing and Quammen's writing.
So in this essay, Bentham is a really good part to look at because Bentham was the founder of the utilitarianism philosophy, and he believed the greatest good should be for the greatest number. And typically when people talk about the greatest number, they mean the greatest number of humans. And this relates to this essay and the grayling because in Montana they created these hatcheries to try and save the grayling, but this was ineffective because of their poor genetics, which means they would just die very quickly. And what they really needed to do was leave them alone because there was no point in trying to save them due to their uselessness to humans.
All right, so now we're going to hear why Quammen did not finish his sentence on page 115 from Leo.
So yeah, I want to talk about a certain passage where Quammen seems to trail off. He says, "And if Bentham's principle of utility is applied today, then there will eventually be, as the balance tips, no snail darter, no ... He chooses to stop here when it sounds like he could have named a list of 20 other organisms and environments that would have been affected. Quammen states earlier, and the greatest number has generally been taken to mean the greatest number of humans. Quammen is talking about the principle of utility here as the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, which he believes will send Mother Nature into a spiral if it were applied into our morals and laws today. This is because utilitarianism does not take individual animals into account. The effect of him trailing off is that it makes us think of the long chain reaction that would occur if we did not decide to protect the simple snail darter."
All right, so can you explain what the snail darter is, how it is similar or different from the grayling?
So yeah, it's pretty similar to the grayling. It's a small fish that doesn't seem to have much of a purpose, especially to humans. And for the same reason that the grayling is important because it's been here and it lives here, the snail darter is also important.
And can you also touch on that idea of a long chain reaction?
Yeah, basically, if we allow the snail darter to die, what says that other animals, we can just let them die too. This will start a chain reaction of us just not caring about conservationist practices, and more species will die out. And eventually there will be less biodiversity, which will hurt humans and the whole ecosystem down the line.
All right, thank you. All right, next, Quammen. So we see that Quammen spends a good amount of this essay pointing out the supposed weaknesses of the grayling. Why does he do this, and how does this contribute to the overall meaning? And Josh is going to talk about this.
I believe that he does this to emphasize the idea that all life in nature has value, regardless of its specific value to humans. And this contributes to the overall theme of the essay, that humans are destroying or underappreciating the things in nature that don't directly benefit us, when we should be protecting and conserving them.
So what are the weaknesses of the grayling specifically?
Well, the grayling is a weak swimmer. It doesn't have a lot of sport to catch, and it tastes bad, so it doesn't really have any uses to us.
Now Ashton's going to talk about a naturalist writer that relates to this essay.
So Quammen reminds me a lot of the naturalist writer Henry David Thoreau. They share a similar deep-rooted love for nature, and yet like the way they write is very different. From what I've read from the books written by Thoreau, such as Walden, it seems that he has much more of a holistic view of nature, while Quammen is more focused on the science and history around the conservationist practices. And I think that Thoreau makes better use of vivid and figurative language, but Quammen's writings still end up a little more engaging.
All right, that is the end of our podcast. Thank you.